Hi guys, welcome back, and this is Caroline. On this channel, I teach watercolor landscapes, painting from forests, mountains, beaches, and even cityscapes. So if you're new here, do subscribe for more tutorial videos and learn to paint with me. For today's painting, I'll be demonstrating on how to paint this autumn lake scenery using mainly wet on wet techniques. So let's start off with a simple sketch. Here I'm drawing the horizon line between the skies and the waters, and then filling in the trees. This part will be the trees that are further behind. And on the right, the trees drawn here will be slightly bigger and closer to us. Let's pre-wet the area of the skies with a layer of water. You may do this with a normal round brush. Otherwise, here I'm using a 1-inch flat brush to spread out the layer of water. When you're doing so, try to avoid wetting the areas of the trees, as we want to keep this area clean for painting the foliages later. And then grabbing some blue, here I'm using ultramarine blue, or you may pick any blue that you already have. Drop in the paints onto the wet area like so. Because the paper is still wet, we can start to see this pigment slowly spreading out, creating a very soft gradient effect. This is a simple technique which you may apply every time when it comes to painting skies. Don't forget to leave out some of those white spaces to create those fluffy clouds. If you'd like to learn more on how to paint amazing sunset skies and clouds, do check out the link which I have attached here in the card above or in the description below. Next, let's move on to paint the trees. Prepare some of the autumn colors on your palette. Here we have yellow, some light and darker orange, red, sap green, and darker green. For the next step, it's time to have some fun and let your creativity flow. Pick any of those autumn colors and drop them into the wet areas. You may mix a few colors together to get that different shades and variation. While doing this, keep in mind where the light and shadows are, because light comes in from the top, so we will need to keep the foliages on top with lighter colors, and as we move down closer to the ground, use darker shades like dark green to create shadows. Otherwise, the painting will end up looking very much flat. Here, I'm adding in lots of different colors next to each other to create more contrast in the area and create that pop. Make sure to wash your brushes thoroughly when changing to a different color, because otherwise very quickly you will end up with dirty muddy colors, and that's the last thing we want on our painting. Next, moving on to the trees on the right, repeat the same process as we did for the trees on the left. Because the trees on the right are bigger and closer to us, we will need to add in a second layer using the wet on dry technique to create more details. After the previous layer is all dry, paint in details like so to create shapes of the trees. You may also alternate between different colors to create more variations. And finally, let's get into the water reflections. Again, pre-wet the water area with water and paint in the colors. Here, we will be following the colors from the trees to paint in the reflections, starting from dark green, light green, and going down to lighter colors like red, orange, and yellow. Now I'm removing the paper which has been taped down so I can lift the paper upwards. Doing so can help the paints to flow naturally downwards to create that interesting effect of the reflections. Next, paint in the reflections from the blue sky, and finally paint in the reflections for the trees further behind. Feel free to keep tilting your paper until you have reached that desired effect. And that's all for today's demonstration on how to paint this autumn lake scenery. If you would like to bring this painting to the next level, join me in my real-time tutorials on Patreon, where we will learn how to add those water ripples, and also be sharing extra tips and tricks on how to make this painting pop. You may find the Patreon link in the description below. Until then, and I'll see you in my next video.